tell him I said this. 28 years ago, Ed Crane was the first libertarian I ever met. And I got the impression forever after that libertarians are brilliant, funny, dynamic human beings. Because that's what Ed was. That was, I'm telling you, 28 years ago. Sorry, I'm just here to make noises. My background is Reagan Democrat, American, working class, urban and suburban, and I'm from this part of the world. We had Republicans and Democrats, and we threw stones at each other. We didn't have things like libertarians, so I cannot tell you how Ed struck me as this brand new thing, a rare thing, kind of like an exotic bird. That's how he struck me. And so that was my first exposure to libertarian thinking was dinner with him. So they were not really exotic birds then, but they seemed so to me. And what is so impressive to me now is that libertarian thinking, as John said, is very obviously flourishing. It's big. Strands of libertarian thinking are certainly entering the mainstream, especially as John said, and as I know as the mother of a young man in his 20s, entering the thoughts of young people. I also believe that some of the most interesting thinking in the Republican Party is coming from young libertarians in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. The party is wide open and bubbling in a funny way now. A lot of people are getting a voice and getting to air ideas and getting to be considered. Modern technology has helped this. People put down Twitter. A modern technology like Twitter, to my mind, Twitter is full of hundreds of people who are having fabulous political arguments and linking to data and linking to other arguments. To me, it's fabulous, and some of the best. This is such a, in a way, oddly ridiculous sounding compliment, but some of the best tweeters are libertarians. So there's a lot going on your side, and I can't help but think now 28 years later that some of the credit for this most extraordinary movement of thought goes to so many pioneers in this room, including my old friend, that exotic bird, Ed Crane. So, to my remarks. First of all, happy Halloween. You're walking around, I think some of you are visiting New York, and you're going to be walking around this afternoon. You're going to see some really strange looking people. Don't worry, it's just Halloween. We don't actually do that every day. I am thinking today, however, of Ronald Reagan. Thank you. Thank you. I'm thinking of Ronald Reagan and the campaign trail in 1984. I was there. He went to a big rally. I think it was down south. I think it was in Georgia. Went to a big rally on this day, Halloween, in 1984. And he told the crowd that he was going to dress up as Walter Mondale's economic plan and frighten the children. And I just remembered that this morning. So I thought I should dress up as Obamacare to scare all of you. But I could not figure out a way to look like a command and controlled state deviously reordering 20% of the U.S. economy. If you have any ideas for me, before I'm going to a little Halloween gathering tonight, if you have any ideas for me, catch me as I walk out. I am thinking, my only thought is to put a large computer on my head and have it explode. But that could be messy. In momentary connection to that, let me recommend something to you. I'm sure a number of you passionately read all the columnists of the Wall Street Journal, but certainly you read Dan Henninger of the Journal. Today's column today, I just think it's a real corker. He lays out Obamacare as the very essence of progressivism, well, not liberalism, but progressivism. Not government saying it's giving you something, but government having more fun, forcing you to do something, ordering you to take certain specific acts, even if they're against your will. It is the commanding and the controlling part, he suggests, that is the fun of it. And I don't think I'm doing quite full justice to his column, but I do urge you to take a look at it today if you have not already. I have been traveling around a bit the past few weeks, and I was not able to write a thoughtful and extended series of remarks, which is about to become all too apparent to you. So I'm just going to tell you that there are a few things on my mind. They are not necessarily connected. Maybe they are. And then once I'm done here, we're going to open it up and do some questions and answer. If you have any Q's and I have any A's. And that way we'll sort of get to what's on your mind, and also, frankly, it takes the pressure off me. So, here's some unconnected thoughts, but it's on my mind. 1, take a look at the speech Mike Lee of Utah gave at the Heritage Foundation this week. It was really good. In a way that was very simple, but also very concrete, and not very rhetorical, not flowery, just straight. He stepped aside from the controversy of the past month about the government shutdowns and debt ceilings and all that stuff, and Republican strategy. He mentioned that stuff, and then he told the party, the Republican Party, it had to do a number of things right now as the progressive project seems to be tottering a bit for the first time. He said, first, Republicans have to develop, advance, and unveil policies that address facts on the ground in America today. As a party, he said, Republicans have been going back a little bit too much in the past and in a way living on their own or eating their own seed corn. He said, our candidates just run around and say, I'm for Reaganism. I liked Reagan. Yes. You know what Reagan did? Okay, what Reagan did. Reaganism, Reagan. They just do that. He said, you know what? Ronald Reagan was very much like Lincoln. He was a man of his time and his moment. And he addressed and understood and handled brilliantly the great questions of his time and his moment. But he was elected 28 years ago. He was sworn in 27 years ago. America keeps moving. America keeps, acting up as America does. You've got to get with all of the facts on the ground in America today. I always say, I worked for Reagan. I love Reagan, and I wrote 2 books about him. So often when I speak, people say, where's the next Reagan? Where's the next Reagan going to come from? And I say, you know what? He left a while ago. We sound as a party like people. FDR died in 1945. We sound like people in 1990 on the Democratic side saying, where's the next FDR going to come from? Who's the next FDR? Don't be thinking like that. Do you know what I mean? Be developing, finding, discovering, and helping political genius that is here now, that is rising now. Go find them. Life moves forward, not backward. So I'm having I'm elaborating a little on what Michael Lee said, but not that much. The GOP has to start noticing the country it's living in and develop policies to help it. Second, it has to stop with the purges and the purge mentality that have wrecked the party the past dozen years. Republicans have gotten very good at throwing people out, gotten very good at purging and throwing out, telling people they're not conservative enough, they're not Tea Party enough, they're not moderate enough, establishment enough, you're a rhino, a squish, a madman, you're a fool, you're an isolationist, you're a Wilsonian. In the nicest possible way, Mike Lee said, shut up. Stop already with the name calling. But debate, debate, debate. Do it fearlessly. Be creative. Be open to innovation. Don't self-censor. Don't let anyone censor you. Fight it all through. Reach out to Americans and persuade, persuade, persuade. This to me is like so simple and logical, but I'm very glad it got said. Third, and connected to that, he said, put down your knives, pick up your pens, get working and thinking. So as I said, in a way, all of this is obvious political advice. But I think it is needed, and coming from a guy like Lee, who I think is trying to keep the Tea Party, so-called, and the establishment, so-called, together and functioning effectively against progressivism, which is the foe. I think it was good stuff. All right, here's another thought, unconnected, but somehow, well, I'm going to go home and write a column, and I hope it will seem that this thought is connected to the Mike Lee thought, because they're both going on the column. I was in Jersey yesterday following Chris Christie as he kicked off his 7-day bus tour leading up to the election next Tuesday. This guy is a happy Republican. He's rolling to a big win in a deep blue state, and he is a red state figure. He's going to get a big win, maybe like 20 points, in one of the 3 or 4 states Obama carried with a bigger margin in 2012 than he did in 2008. Christie, I watched him with everybody, town after town. They loved him. They treated him like a rock star. The events were like little mini presidential events in the number of people who showed up. It was very interesting. This gave me 2 thoughts. One, we forget in politics the sheer force of personal popularity. They like him. He is one of their own. Second, this is the larger point, I guess, he has joy. It was nice to see his joy. I am surrounded by frustrated Republicans. They are often sour now. They're furrow-browed and weighed down. And in my case, not only because they're furrow-browed and anxious, I think, not only because they live in New York, where, amazingly, we are about to decisively and with a great whoosh of feeling elect a Sandinista as mayor. But also in Washington, the Republicans are frustrated, angry, indignant, seething. That's fine, it's understandable. But yesterday I was with a politician who reminded me of the power of pleasure, the power of deep, visceral pleasure in leadership and winning and pushing the ball forward, if only a little, if only to a moderate degree. And it was very good to see. So I guess what I'm saying is, Lee is saying think in a very responsible way. And Christie is saying be in a good mood, be hungry for life, push it forward. Both of these things, it seems to me, are good advice for the Republican Party. All right, very quickly now. When I was emailing with Cato, they said, just tell us a few things you are concerned about these days. Tell us what you're worried about. I am worried about everything, and that's why I'm a conservative. We love to worry. It is our calling. So, I'm worried about the growing unseen power of the administrative state, of the quiet administrators who run America. I am afraid of Obamacare, but more I am afraid of its being run by the IRS. If I had any wit, I would tonight be dressing up as Lois Lerner and frightening my neighbors. I didn't know you would be talking about this in any of your panels today, not to mention your earlier panel, But I am concerned about the NSA, as John mentioned.
Yes.
I do not understand the Republicans or conservatives who feel no declared anxiety about what our security state can do. Murphy's Law says if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. We all know that mordant fact of life. Noonan's Law is if people have the opportunity to do a really wicked thing, they will do the really wicked thing. They'll try it out, take it out for a ride, see what happens, especially if nobody's watching, nobody's controlling,
Yes.
nobody is authorized, nobody is, what's the word, having authority over them. This is all like, I'll get that later, this is all like secret state stuff, you know? President Obama tells the NSA, stop tapping Merkel. The NSA says, sure, chief. And part of me thinks, are they laughing in the next room? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to do anything. I don't understand Republicans who say, well, we're spying on bad guys, but don't worry, they're not spying on Americans. I think, you are so cute, but what are you, a child? If you can bug anyone, will you bug the guy your former wife is dating? I think you will. If you're not allowed to share intelligence information with anyone outside your intelligence agency, but that nice girl in the Justice Department really needs help with a case, and the case she's working on is a bad guy anyway, so what the heck? Give her some of what you got. Tell her what's turning up in the guy's phone calls and email and text messages and who he's talking to on the comment thread on Reddit. And when the IRS asks for information, don't worry, there's a precedent. We've already shared information with the Justice Department. These are some of the things I fear. We keep talking about freedom in America. We want this freedom, we want that freedom. We are the freest people, we brag. But in my lifetime, and I believe now every day, we are constricting the circle of individual freedom in which we as human beings operate. And in the end, it will make life less delicious and independent and individual and colorful and free. That is my word. A former senator said to me a few months ago, we were talking about this, he shared, I started writing about NSA at the beginning, and I surprised some people that I was not, oh, NSA, get the bad guys, A-OK. I just was starting to feel and have and hold in my head a great degree of doubt and skepticism. A former U.S. senator got in touch with me. And he said, I beg your pardon, he said, I'm afraid that all of what we are doing, our regulatory state, our economic policy, our security state, he said, I am afraid it is going to create a nation of sullen paranoids.
Yes.
Interesting phrase. So, those are some of my concerns. On the other hand, I'm pretty happy as a human being. Thinking Ed Crane might be here, I was going to say, Ed, you have to not let your worries take away your peace. That is an important part of someone taking a part in political life, in journalistic life, and thinking life in America. You have to be worried about all the right things, be able to the best of your ability, focus on them and be helpful in whatever area in which you're operating. But don't let the troubles take away your peace. I live in New York. I walk around my neighborhood every day. I see the mommies and daddies and kids and puppies and the nannies and the balloons and the fabulous strollers that they have that seem to cost $1 billion. I look at the beautiful facades of the buildings. In a lot of the great capitals of the world, it is the facades that are most beautiful. I mean that truly and metaphorically. I go to church, and I just know that all I have to do is my best because God is in charge of history. That's what I wanted to tell John and Ed and all of you. God is in charge of history. I never get to say that to a room full of libertarians. So I just thought I'd have fun and do it. Thank you very much. That's all. Well, we have I think just a few minutes here. But, question, yes, I think we